jump into game 4, start ourselves off in the second half of the day.
Yeah, and remember, like you said, it is the second half now. So teams are gonna have to start turning things up if they want to compete for these top 3 spots. Now, these points are going to carry over through the whole season here, so it's still important to get points even if you're not gunning for that top spot. But if you want to win today, if you want to get the money from today, you need to crank things up, unless you're somebody like Nerf, who is very far ahead and can play fairly safe. We'll see how things are going to pan out right now, as we are actually seeing, I believe, Countdown is being... No. Okay, there's a team that is black in color, and it makes it really hard to see on our screens. But we are still seeing the Countdown going back, although it is not ULTM here.
Yeah, ULTM, who have previously been contesting staging for the past 3 games in a row, finally, after having lost 2 50-50s consecutively, end up dropping immediately off of the bus, netting themselves a nice northern position, and one that hopefully will convert into some loot via survey camp as well. It's safer, however, it does not slow down the pace of the game, as Illuminate already going big or trying to find some kills.
Absolutely, and Nerf, ooh, yeah, we actually haven't seen too much action in this area, and it is going to be Wicked and Friends going down, as finally we see some early action in this area. Splash are the ones that landed here. Did everybody just switch things up on us?
No. Splash landed over by staging, as they have been, and now they're walking over for the third party. It is onto Cinnamon Toast Crunch, who have had a little bit of a difficult run of things so far. We actually, I don't believe, gotten any points out of them just yet, and while they do get the 3 this game, that may very well be it. Already whittled down to just the last member, and Blight seems to be on their tail.
Yeah, Splash playing aggro, and I think that's to their benefit right now, because they know it is up to them to be able... Wow, okay, beam them. Okay, buddy. It is up to them right now to start kicking things up, to catch up to first place if they want to get it, as they are going to confirm that kill as well. Pick up a nice shield for themselves, and Splash starting off great.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch still largely alive, however, is going to be a problem for them later. Perhaps the banners can be picked up, but taking a look at problems, we're thinking a team Unlucky, a squad that we were really excited to see continue to pick up, and already have started this one out big, finding themselves these initial kills, and surprise, surprise, even when you swap up your landing spot, you cannot escape death. Team ULTM end up going down in 19th place.
Yeah, an unfortunate day after what seemed like a great start for themselves. Now, unfortunately, ULTM really struggling in those points. Survive Noodles, another team that has just been on the fringe here. Man, how does Flub find these bows immediately?
I mean, nobody else is
I
picking
don't
them up.
understand it.
Literally nobody else.
I mean, okay, yes, but how do you find them so fast?
That's true.
Like, there are times where I'm like, man, I really want to use the bow, and I just can never find one. They are a mythical unicorn to me, and it just blows my mind how often Flub is able to find it.
He's been doing pretty well with really anything that can take a 2 or a 3x and do well. I saw him use the Rampage a little bit earlier, and I'm liking the sort of mid to long range damage that very clearly Tag have. It is when they come to the short range battles that very clearly they're a little bit more uncomfortable, and I'd love to see somebody take up that mantle right now, especially because they do have so many other points of strength. We've talked about this team's macro quite a bit, and well, we'll see how it continues to evolve throughout the course of this tournament even further. For right now, the ring is evolving as Trippin ended up using their little jump to move themselves over through Thermal, and now perhaps closer to the ring as we get a very nice scan on the ring from I Love Emo Girls. We're actually going to figure out this one's going towards Skyhook and a little bit north of Landslide, giving us 2 very different endings that it could be. And I think that a lot of teams should be predicting this one ends around Sniper Tower right outside of Countdown and in between that and Fragment West.
Yeah, we'll see here. I'm hoping for a Skyhook end because I love these just city area endings. as MNK assist picking up some kills for themselves, going for this aggression once again, as they know they've taken down one and they want to get this KP, they want to get more points, as another team that needs to push things harder and harder going in, as they know there's another team hanging out already in here. So teams are starting to populate this area, and we'll see how they're going to react to that, because now there's so many buildings, but that also means there's going to be so many teams that are going to hang out in Skyhook.
MNK eating a little bit of damage right back. You're starting to figure out exactly the fact that you were just dropping on us, Tessa, that there is a few too many people here for them to take that fight confidently. There are a lot of angles where MNK were vulnerable, and they end up pulling a nerf, taking the kill, moving all the way back to safety where they started off the fight going, this is what we got. We're not going to overextend for too much else. I like the move from MNK. It'll keep them safe. And Inner Nerd, surprising nobody, have once again got the high ground.
Yep. And they have done well with it. It's just, are they going to do what they need to? Are they going to keep themselves at least in a position they can take a fight? Because that was the big thing that they struggled with last time around. Inner Nerd Gaming, they're feeling okay here. Now remember, this is going to be closing in. It's going to take a while, but eventually that ring is going to close in at their back, meaning they will probably need to move at some point in the future, unless that ring really pulls in their direction. So while they are doing okay now, they will probably need to move from that spot. And will they be able to rotate safely, considering that their rotation is a Valkyrie, and we've seen that kind of bite people when they're not careful with it.
Yeah, that's actually likely going to be it one way or another. Whether this pulls to the Skyhook side of the mountain or to the landslide side of the mountain, we are going to get a lot of Valk squads, most likely using their ultimates to make up that distance, because let's be honest, hiking is difficult. Why hike when you could fly? Survive Noodles, however, they, walking their way up, seem to be just content with surveying the nature and perhaps going hunting a bit, as they popping by staging seem to have found transatlantic, because you know what? I hear a bow.
Yeah, and I mean, why wait when you can just hunt people down? Survive Noodles are looking to play aggressive, and I'm actually surprised they're pushing this as hard as they are. Ooh, okay, now I'm not surprised, because they are getting the cracks. There's the Bloodhound ult, and this is the time to go. You know that you've taken one low. You can keep the pressure on. Maybe ult will keep them a little bit pushed back. The beams from Noodles, though.
Quite a bit of damage, but no flash and no knock. Instead, it's going to be Splash that end up losing a member, and it seems to be right here as well. Are they actually the ones using a bow? But oh, Survive Noodles doesn't quite get that jump, now having to use the zip line to try and get up. It's a mystery exactly how this fight is going to pan out, as it is utter chaos right now. But with Saint falling, we know that it is Splash that they're fighting up against. Bow or no, Survive Noodles may have just bitten off a little bit more than they can chew, with Noodles finding quite a bit of damage. He finally finds that shotgun directly to the face of Phoenix and sends them onwards to victory. Unorganized, however, right at their backs, want to try to apply the pressure, and the defensive bombardment does keep them at bay for just a few seconds longer.
Yeah, they're going to just back away, and I think it is going to be a slight reset as the rotation will come around. Unorganized want to keep the pressure on, but I don't know if they can here. It was Phoenix running that bow, which does ruin our ability to recognize where tag is at a whole, but you win some, you lose some.
I'm sure they'll be here eventually, especially if this fight continues, right? You only draw more and more attention to yourself the longer these fights go on. I like that Unorganized end up recognizing that and move themselves up to this high ground. They take a bit of damage in trade for it, but it is well worth it for the safety that they now have. Survive Noodles were able to reset, and you do not want to extend the fight, opening yourself up to what we already teased as that third party. Instead, keep moving up north. That goes for both of these squads, one on the high ground, one on the low, but Survive Noodles ever closer to that big victory that they could get. Do need to start moving, I would say sooner rather than later, especially if they're going to stay on the low ground.
But where do they move to? Because they were getting pushed from all sides here. these doors open, they obviously are going to be a little bit more vulnerable, but they need to make some kind of movement now. And here comes the dome so that they can get out a little bit safer. Use this Valk ult maybe to get around, but they're just going to try. Oh, no, they're leaving the dome to do it. Get a little bit of cover from that wall. And there we go. They're going to get out.
Small angles get covered there by the wall. A little bit of a fake out with the dome. However, it does mean that you still won't have that dome upon landing, so you got to be very careful with the spot that you select. Instead, going over towards Countdown and maybe even Lava Fisher. This is a very risky move, and ultimately landing out in the open.
Oh, no.
Jimpy takes quite a bit of damage as I left Emo Girls, the squad that we saw here initially. Don't end up finding the knock, but still are very, very scary.
Yeah, I was surprised to see them land out as far in the open there when that building, I know they wanted to push into that building, but I think you've got to assume that somebody is going to be there in that instance and play it at least a little bit safe there. Rotation does come through, so they will be okay, but ultimately that could have gone very poorly.
It's a miracle that they end up getting out alive, and honestly, that is for both squads. It is a weird balance when you're Valk ulting of, do we try and take the best spot because it's the best spot, why wouldn't we? Or do we opt in for the slightly safer play and ultimately settle for, in this case, a position like Lava Fisher? Survive Noodles, having settled for that Lava Fisher, ultimately getting out alive, do still have a nice rotation up towards the north. Countdown seems to be widely pretty friendly to them outside of the Emo Girls in the south.
Yeah, and right now, oh man, it is a little bit tough for Survive Noodles. They have the shields, but they don't have the position right now because Redux are also keeping them at bay right now, and they cannot actually get into this Countdown area. So this is a little bit rough, but if they want to go for the full-on engage, it is available to them. Rejects are trying to keep pressure on, but things getting a little bit rough. Poke coming through. This Wizard Coin going to try and use this 30-30 as best as possible.
Rejects may very well find themselves in a great position moving in towards the future rings as well. They have one of the very flexible positions off in the north of Countdown, in between Landslide and Skyhook. They sort of got a foot in both worlds, and given that there's very little pressure on them, and they've got a whole lot of ultimate accelerants, they've got some nice mobility. They're also running a comp that compensates for a lot of the problems that we talked about earlier. Remember, you and I were speaking about the sort of Valkyrie meta and how you do need that other option for mobility? They've opted out of the Caustic and for that Wraith, giving them some good options in the late game as well as the utility of the Valkyrie early on.
As we do check in, I Love Emo Girls actually seeming to try and get out of this Countdown area, but it is not the easiest thing. They only have that Wraith to get around, and that is not the best thing because you have people on all sides. Meanwhile, we check in over here, and it seems like Weta and friends are really in a bind here because they are just getting fire coming down from all areas.
They got Trippin above them. They've got Underdogs right next door. Things are not looking good, and now down to 1. They're likely going to get wiped out in this RV. Extremely difficult to siege, but you got to look out for the third party, the fourth party even, as Trippin is starting to walk their way over it. It seems like everybody's actually going to get out okay as squads reconsider the push and instead start moving further in towards that ring. Nerf, however, have taken a detour here. They smell blood in the water, and for a squad that has been very, very quiet during this fourth game, things could get loud so fast.
Yeah, but they aren't looking as healthy on shields as we are used to seeing them. So they are playing at a little bit more of a disadvantage than normal. We'll see if that does hurt them there. They're also going to be in the open there with only these rocks to give them some cover. So it's going to get a little bit rough, but they should be able to push this in. Just depends on how they want to play it.
At the moment, Trippin playing around the respawn beacon have opted to play it slowly like we suspect Nerf may do. Seeing if you can get a crack, find a knock in that kill feed before anything goes down. Transatlantic may be knocked very much so in the fight up against Lazarus, but ultimately managed to take that 3v3, perhaps though not in time as Dank is walking over, and it just wasn't all of Lazarus. Now the cavalry has arrived, and Transatlantic are down to just the one. Flubbed on the Wraith is low ground and manages to survive for quite a long time. Does Lazarus get distracted, fighting up with Unorganized on this high ground, and it's working for him so far. Kills abound in the kill feed, but very few squad wipes so far. We're at 13 to start things off, and with Dank starting to clean up, we're moving down to 12 so quickly. The rejects get involved as well, and now things may just start to calm down.
Yeah, Flubbed still sticking around though, very low right now, needs to get in that portal.
Back out to safety, but Lazarus, I believe, still hold the high ground, and Flub doesn't get the heals. Oh, Lord, in time, but it doesn't matter as the Rockets end up hitting up on the high ground as the rejects are being pushed yet again. This is so problematic for them, but it's buying so much time for Transatlantic as Unorganized. Ultimately, the benefactors picking up a few kills themselves, now trying to dial it in. The 30-30 doesn't connect, but Nerf is starting to farm up as well. Flubbed from the low ground is throwing in the arrows, not finding really anything. Check out that kill feed. We can see that Nerf are at least getting going cleanly.
Yeah, they're able to get that push that they needed to, but right now, Flubbed, man, I am surprised Flubbed is actually trying to take this right now. I feel like this is a situation where you just need to peace out. You are down a couple of people. You're not going to get those respawns through. It is back to ratting for you, my friend.
Thing is, Unorganized can't actually push in. There's so many squads watching them right now from so many angles that they're kind of the ones sat in the center. As he does go down, though, you're right, it is one less squad, and since they've got the dome, it should be one more kill. Defeated is looking anything but... he finally does end up falling to the hands of the Mastiff. Lazarus still on the high ground, though, are on the prowl now, looking for extra two members that unfortunately got the heals off. The res is off just before Lazarus could capitalize.
Yeah, and now Lazarus having to back out. Remember, they did lose a player, so they are going to have to look to maybe try and get a mobile respawn through so that they can get that Gibraltar back in, but it's not going to be an easy thing to do. They have position, but they don't have the numbers here. One knock.
Almost two here, a nice 63. Potentially a nade. Bizet takes to the sky, dropping on this to actually try and find the kills. Chaos breaks out again as Unorganized continue to fight things out, and Lazarus lose yet another, hoping to get Bizet back into the game. They've got a little bit more time to do so, but Ring's not going to take them all the way to the height, and Dank will have to survive on the low ground for now, all alone down there, while Unorganized hopefully are able to survive any siege that would come through from the height. Nerf rounding the corner are going to be a big part of this ring as well. They've already found yet another fight to take. We're already down to 5 squads, and it has been chaos in the eastern end of this ring.
Absolutely here, as we are now down to 5 squads. We were at 12 just a little bit ago, as Nerf are just throwing out damage right now and getting themselves out. You can see the shields. They were on blue just a little while ago. Everybody on purple or red now. Nerf able to play their fights to perfection. I'm a little sad we didn't get to see it, but obviously Nerf are still doing just as well as they have been every game today.
Now, Nerf and Unlucky right next door to each other. On the other side of this, I believe we still have Unorganized alive. And, of course, we've got Lazarus up on that high ground, but Unlucky may not be joining us for long. This Gibby, bit of a bullet sponge, has his own gravitational pull when it comes to these, and ultimately has to drop the dome to keep himself safe. Now, the push coming in from Nerf to try and capitalize on that may just kill Prodigy Aces, as he doesn't have the dome to be able to pop that bat inside. Ultimately, ends up going down to the push from Nerf plus We the People. Falls entirely. He gives over that KP, and Unlucky will be quite lucky if they're able to survive. I believe just the sole member, but that Valkyrie does end up going down, interestingly enough, to Unorganized from elsewhere. So, whittling down Nerf just a little bit. Back in the game, though, and Unlucky hold on to their position.
Yeah, damage coming in, but Unlucky. They need to play this very well in order to win it, because they are just running down that one person. I love the use of these supply bins here. We have seen it a lot from Unlucky this time around, and it's been doing them a whole lot of favors.
And with Nerf trying to get their own Valk back in the game, Messiah is such a huge part of their game plan. They end up using the dome, getting the fast res off. Now Messiah, with the laser attached to him, good as always, gonna get the chance to reset, and it should be just in time as well, and just with enough space. They don't have to move. Team Unlucky permanently down that member. Not so happy. Lazarus, I believe, from the distance, do end up getting that ultimate off. Still no mobile respawn yet, though.
They have the ability to grab stuff from this care package here if they want to with that Loba. So keep your eyes on that, see if they are open that up. Unlucky now by the fight.
Getting pushed by Unorganized, I believe. Caselos falls low, and Nerf could try and third party this. It's very likely that they do, an income Nerf, just as we call it. But it's just as Caselos ends up falling, and the rest of Unlucky go with him. Nerf have to retreat, and already low. Messiah is lucky to be alive, even on this Valkyrie. We the people could just be eating a little too much damage as well as he slides back underneath these fences. We're down to 3 squads. Lazarus is a 2-man, but they still look like they could take it.
Yeah, and honestly though, that's exactly the kind of thing from Nerf that we have seen them be really successful at. They pushed in, they got the kills, and they got back out. They didn't spend extra time hanging around. They didn't worry about trying to loot things really well. They just got in, got back to their cover, and just said, all right, now we heal back up and we do it again. Lazarus trying to make the best out of a bad situation here, but it is really rough for them. If these teams recognize how rough it is for them to, because they are on that 2-person there, I'm sure one of these teams is going to eventually pull the trigger and push on them.
Unorganized sitting on the fence line. Lazarus has been playing with them for so long, but now finally has an amazing angle. Rowdy is able to fend that off with the missile barrage, but Nerf are just watching all this go down. Remember, they are a full 3-man. If anything, Unorganized and Lazarus should both be looking at Nerf, but they just don't have the data, they don't have the angles, and it's letting Nerf take control as they spread out. They control almost half this ring, pushing everybody else into that small third over in the corner. Nerf are starting to turn this lobby on its head from weakness to strength. These guys are rising and cresting the top of the rock. Turns does find a really nice laser. We the people ends up finding 2 knocks onto Unorganized, and it's down to a 2v2 between Nerf and Lazarus to finish this off.
Yeah, Nerf now healing up here, trying to get as much as they can done here, but honestly, this is looking great for them. They have a strong ability to fight this. Final ring will be closing. I don't think they're going to be able to get this Valkyrie back up. She's going to be stuck in here. They gotta move now, though. They're going to start taking ring damage.
Already do, and with Dank on the side here, he ends up taking out one. Alternator gets reloaded, and it's We the People versus Dank as he dips in and out of the shield. He ends up finessing the win away. Lazarus, as a 2-man, steal the victory out from under the noses of 2 full squads.